Hey guys, this is Eckhart's Ladder, and there was some huge Star Wars news which apparently flew right under my radar, and which I'm now scrambling to cover. So, the very first clips from Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi were shown today at a Disney shareholder meeting, and because there were some journalists there, these clips have started to leak. Not the clips themselves, sorry, but the information about what was contained in these clips have started to leak onto the internet. So I'm just going to try to go over these clips, share with you guys what I know and what's been told to us, maybe do a bit of analysis, and we can talk about it together. Before I get really into it too, I just want to say that these leaks should be considered very legitimate because these are very well-known journalists who are making these reports. And for example, there's journalists from the LA Times, and they're not just going to go lie about something they've seen in a Star Wars movie. So you should take what's in this video at very high value. I mean, make your own judgment, but I would take it at very high value. The clip started with a brief bit from episode 7, the very end, where Luke and Rey are about to meet for the first time, with Rey holding the lightsaber out to give it to Luke. Apparently the new material starts off with Luke actually grabbing the lightsaber with both hands, almost sounds like he's snatching it, and then a wide angle shot of him looking at her, kind of almost a reverse of where The Force Awakens ended. The two then move inside of a hut on Acto, and I'm sure that this is Luke's hut because I don't think anyone even lives on the planet besides him. And this is kind of interesting because it, in a way, mirrors how Luke spent very important moments inside both Obi-Wan and Yoda's huts. And of course now Luke is basically the Obi-Wan and the Yoda of the new trilogy, while Rey is the young Luke Skywalker, the new up-and-coming Jedi. Then Luke asks Rey, "Who are you?" Which is interesting to me because we saw that line coming from Maz Kanata and directed to Rey in one of the episode 7 trailers. And I'm going to suggest that's probably not the literal question of what's your name, where are you from, who are you. It's probably more of what kind of a Jedi are you, what kind of a person are you. I mean, I'm sure that this is part of the early beginning of Luke's training with Rey. Next we have Poe Dameron inside of an X-Wing saying it's now or never to BB-8. And this bit just screams that this is probably from a trailer. These clips are probably bits of the first Star Wars Episode 8 trailer. Because, I mean, it's now or never. Not only is it the most Poe line ever, it's the most generic trailer line ever. And I'm not saying that because it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that line screams that we're in the middle of some action that we're going to show you a brief glimpse of as part of a trailer to get you excited. Next, we've got a quick shot of Chewie roaring, which personally I'm a big fan of course. And then Captain Phasma. And we don't really know what she's doing, but presumably she's just standing there looking shiny. And then there's a really interesting shot of Finn in a uniform on a First Order deck of some starship. So I say very interestingly, not because I've actually seen the clip, but because Making Star Wars, which is makingstarwars.net, actually had a script leak which had Finn in the First Order undercover, basically working for the Resistance. So this kind of suggests that maybe that leak has some credibility to it. And I think it's probably worth exploring in more detail in the future, and I'll probably do that in the coming days. We see Leia next, and she's dressed in a military uniform, and she's got a hologram with a fleet of ships behind her, which, you know me, I'm a ship guy, so this gets me excited, especially with the next shot, which is ships flying past a Resistance fleet. And I wish we had more detail about this. If I had seen the clips, I'd be like, ships flying past a Resistance fleet, which was made up of XXX and X, MC-80 cruiser or whatever. But all we have right now is ships flying past Resistance fleet. I'm going to keep looking, and I'll let you guys know if I find something more in depth. And then kind of continuing my idea earlier of Luke beginning to train Rey, we have shots of Rey spinning around with the lightsaber ignited, kind of showing that she's able to handle the weapon. And I don't know if that's to impress Luke, and more importantly, I haven't actually been able to find out whether she's using Luke's blue lightsaber, using Luke's green lightsaber, or using her own. So I think that'd be interesting. That's one of the things I'm going to look for when I see the clip for the first time. I really wouldn't be surprised if she got to keep the blue lightsaber and if Luke started to use his green one because, as Maz said, the lightsaber called to her, whatever that means, so clearly she's meant to have it. Then there's an X-Wing flying into some sort of large hangar, so some larger ship, which kind of reminds me of the scene from The Force Awakens where Poe and Finn escape from the First Order hangar inside of their TIE fighter, but this is kind of the opposite. It's the X-Wing is going inside of the hangar instead of trying to run away from it. And apparently it puts its brakes on, and the large ship was described as being like an injured bird by an LA Times writer. So I don't know what that means. It almost seems like perhaps the ship's crashing and Poe is picking somebody up before the ship is destroyed. One of the last shots, I guess, is Rey and Luke on Andoh doing lightsaber training next to a cliff, and that would obviously be a very cinematic shot, and I think that's going to be one of the shots that lingers in the trailer, one of the shots that really sticks in people's minds. Like kind of the equivalent of the X-Wings flying over the water, it's going to be Luke and Rey on Andoh training. Other reports that I read have said that there are various epic and exotic locales dispersed throughout this trailer. And we actually see mountains, oceans, forests, and deserts, and again, which the LA Times writer says look pretty epic and exotic, which is nice because while we did see lots of locations in episode 7, like we saw a forest, we saw a desert, we saw an ocean, they weren't really that epic. I mean, they looked like they could have been filmed in your backyard. And that's one thing the prequels really did right. Like, say what you will about cheesy moments on Naboo, the planet itself always looked really cool. So I hope that episode 8 kind of trends back towards that direction. But yeah, that's all we know right now. And I'm going to spend time like lurking 4chan and looking on other websites, see if I can find a leak of the footage. But what we do have is really interesting, and it's enough to give me a few really good questions, I think. And the first is this just clips from a trailer? And I think I know the answer to this one. I'm sure that it probably is, but still, I want to know if it's a little bit of a trailer, if it's the whole trailer, if it's maybe a shortened version. So that's my first major question. My second is the "Who are you?" said by Luke to Rey, is that the very first thing that the two characters say to each other? I'm going to think no, because it's inside the hut. I mean, I wouldn't imagine that Luke just turned around and made Rey follow her into the hut. He was always a pretty friendly guy. So, but I still wonder. It would be interesting, but I'm not sure if that's really how you want to introduce yourself to someone when you've been chilling out on a island for a few years. My next question is, and this is the one that I'm probably most interested in for my own weird reasons, is what did this fleet look like? Do we have capital ships? Do we have a mix of capital ships and support ships? Is a fleet just a word for a bunch of X-Wings? I really want to know. And this is what I'm going to be looking for most in the trailer, because I want to get an idea of what the resistance forces are like, because in episode 7 they had basically a transport ship and some X-Wings in the Millennium Falcon. I'm hoping this time they've got some, pretty beefed up capital ships. Finally, and this has no bearing on the final movie, but I'm wondering now whether the script leak from Making Star Wars is actually accurate, because apparently Finn actually is in a First Order uniform, but this I'm going to address more in depth probably in a future video, because I need to figure this out for myself. But you guys, let me know what you think. Let me know. This seems like a sizzle reel, if like just brief clips of a trailer, maybe not put together in any order, but a sizzle reel. They don't always show those. Sometimes they do. Lucasfilm often doesn't. I'm going to keep looking, but let me know. Do you guys like the way that things are starting to shape up now, even though it's early? Have you figured anything out just from the description that I've put forward here of these clips? Let me know what you think. I'm really interested in. It's about time we got a little episode 8 news, because things have been dry recently. Anyways, this is Eckhart's Ladder. I'm losing my voice. May the Force be with you.